Honeybees are part of the Apidae family and from the order of Hymenoptera. They are social bees and live in large groups. Honeybees, hives, and colonies are perennial. The following video will display a number of behaviors exhibited by the honeybee. We will focus on one behavior. In this case, the behavior is walking. In lecture, we discussed Tinbergen's 4 levels of analysis, including causation, development, evolution, and function. I will break down this behavior into each of these levels, and for each of these levels of analysis I will generate hypotheses in order to explain why the behavior of walking occurs in honeybees. My first hypothesis in relationship to the analysis of proximate causation or control, in other words, how do the limbs of a honeybee work? Well, a honeybee has 3 pairs of legs that work and function similar to the human hip, thigh, shin, and foot. This allows the honeybee to land and walk on a variety of different surfaces, and scientific literature corresponds to the proposed hypothesis, indicating the limbs of honeybees work and function similar to other insects in order to adapt to new environmental conditions, allowing them to land, crawl, explore, and regulate their metabolic temperature. The second hypothesis I have generated in relation to the analysis of development. In other words, how did the honeybee develop limbs? Well, a honeybee developed limbs by a heritable ancestral trait in order to adapt to the changing environment. The third hypothesis I have generated in relation to the analysis of function. In other words, what are the honeybee limbs used for? Well, a honeybee uses its limbs for locomotion on land, collecting pollen, and manipulating objects. Scientific literature supports the proposed hypothesis, concluding limbs of bees contain several specialized structures, including brush-like hairs that aid in collecting pollen, and a claw and pad that aid in the manipulation and holding of objects. While the fourth hypothesis I have generated in relation to the analysis of evolution or phylogeny, in other words, I'm asking how did the limbs of a honeybee evolve? Well, I hypothesized the limbs of a honeybee evolved from an ancestral trait in order to improve terrestrial life by allowing the locomotion on land, to aid in self-regulation of body temperature, improve feeding structure, allow for the manipulation of objects, and by them locomoting on land, they are able to smell and taste their environment. Cornell University coincides with the hypotheses 2 and 3, stating that ectotherms developed limbs to aid in locomotion in order to metabolically heat or cool themselves by walking into the shade or sun. Phylogenetic analysis of DNA sequences in honeybees conducted by the NCBI corresponds with my hypothesis, showing that limbs increased the fitness of honeybees, and as a result the trait of limbs is favored and therefore heritable. The behavior of walking in honeybees relates to a number of different concepts covered in lecture, including animal traits, environmental adaptations in relation to anatomy, behavior, and physiology, the form and function of limbs in honeybees relating to locomotion, thermal regulation, and feeding structures are all types of environmental adaptations. Honeybees are ectotherms. They use a combination of mechanisms in order to regulate such body temperatures, such as behavioral, morphological, and physiological. Honeybees use their limbs to walk into the sun or shade in order to metabolically heat up or cool down. While the evolutionary and phylogeny of limbs in honeybees goes back to Darwinian evolution by natural and sexual selection. Darwin proposed that individuals with traits best suited to the environment would succeed. In relation to Darwin's theory, the heritable trait of limbs was favored, and as a result of an increase in the fitness of honeybees. So that concludes my behavior of walking. I hope you all learned something because I definitely did.